Hello, a very good day to you. Welcome to another interesting episode of the Candid Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. Remember, this is Kenya's most comprehensive and political analysis show. We are bringing you up to date with everything that is taking place in this country and of course across the borders. And as usual, I'm here with Professor Herman Manyora all the way from Luambe village. How are you, sir?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes.
I heard you in the morning mention that you're somebody from Uganda.
Yes. Manyora Udo Bondo Anja Ugenya Kagera.
Okay.
I was on a Luo radio station. Namlo Lue.
Namlo Lue.
Yes.
Talking to the people therein.
Yes. To the Luo nation.
And giving you nuggets. But I didn't see you speak in that language anyway.
No, they didn't give me the chance. I only greeted people in the language. You know, I'm a Luo. I'm a Luya, I'm a Kalenjin. By blood. Luo, Luya, Kalenjin.
By blood, that is.
By culture and by blood. Yes.
You are this guy who is now tribeless, definitely.
Tribeless.
We are looking at that, hope that one day the country will get there. Prof, I want us to look at the man, President William Ruto, and perhaps focus on his journey and what is it that this man wants to achieve, because a number of people are not understanding him, going by the number of actions that he's taking of late. Now, let's talk about what is taking place in Kenya right now. Of course, this is the biggest test that the president has actually come to face of late, dealing with protests right now. Look at the strategy that the president has chosen, going with the people head on. At the time, he toned down. And actually, something that happened in that during the first series of demonstrations, he was not within the country. But this time around, he's within the country. The other time when he came back, he said, well and good, let me call my brother, Honorable Raila Odinga on the table. And we saw him extend an olive branch therein. But then suddenly right now, these things are taking place. He's within the country and he has changed tactics. What do you think has led the president to behave in a manner?
There are many reasons why the government will be taking the demonstrators and Raila head on. One is the hardliners around him, who fear if the president went in some form of argument with Raila, they will lose, directly or indirectly, their positions, and if government is reorganized. Also, there is the narrative that Raila has had it his way for far too long. And there is a need, in their own words, to bring this to an end. And Gachagua and Ruto believe they are the men who will cut Raila down to size. And this is the time. The third reason could be Ruto the man. I think Ruto as a person is a strong fellow, a fellow who is used to getting what he wants at whatever means, with a strong personality. And that could be part of it. There are also other people who feel these guys are afraid. They are driven by fear. You know, sometimes when people are driven by fear, the outward manifestations of toughness could be hiding the fact that they are scared stiff. And then finally, Raila the man. This is a powerful man. He's a monument. He's larger than life. So he's looming all over, and he could intimidate you, and you feel you don't want to be intimidated. So that again could be part of it. And they would think they want to deal with him once and for all. Bad news I have for them is that, one, it's not about Raila anymore. It's about the people of this country. And all they will need to do is not to deal with the Raila or with the masses in terms of the protesters, but to do the things that are sending people to the streets. Just deal with the cost of living, and Raila would be left alone in the Mandamano.
Okay.
The second thing, which is bad news for them, is that Raila is not a human being. I've said this, and people don't know. Even in Namulole, they were asking. Raila is not a human being. When you are dealing with Raila, you are dealing with a spirit.
Yes. You're dealing with a spirit. That's
you can't kill a spirit. Yeah. Raila stopped being a human being long time ago.
On a light note, though, these guys are saying they saw you call Spirit went into hiding. Was it true? By the way?
Raila has been unwell and is not hidden. He was unwell and is still recuperating. So has he hidden that fact that he was unwell?
Okay.
No.
So that narrative being swindled around isn't true.
Let me tell you, what would Raila suffer? You know, me, if you come for me, maybe I will be scared. But how can Raila, having gone through all those things he went through, how can he be scared of an arrest? Not even death. Because you can't kill Raila. How can you kill a spirit? You can't. Raila stopped being a human being. So therefore, if you arrest Raila, he doesn't fear arrest because no man around here has faced death and scared death and handled death na nashika na mkono yake more than Raila. So can you scare Raila with death or arrest? So how can he go into hiding? Moreover, spirits don't really...
Therefore, are you trying to...
Don't succumb to our powers.
Are you trying to draw conclusions that perhaps Raila's personality is actually perhaps responsible for how the president is acting as well right now?
In my first video that I released 5 years ago,
yes,
as I was asking Uhuru to sit down with Raila because the country was going up in flames, I said the problem in this country is Raila's power. That is the problem that we have in this country over the years, from 2002, but more certainly from 2007. Here is a person outside State House enjoying such a power that even the president doesn't have. Is more powerful than any other person in the country. That is not easy to deal with in a country. You must navigate the politics around a person like this. The problem with dealing with a person like this, spirits aside, is that he becomes like a religion to some people.
Okay.
You get it?
Yeah, I do get you.
He's not somebody you can touch the flesh. Because even if you dealt with him, you haven't dealt with the many people who commune with him. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying.
I do get you.
That is where the problem is. Yeah.
Now, let's focus on that. Definitely. We are here, we are looking at, and I believe right now, if at all there is anybody in government who knows Raila better, or rather best, then it could be perhaps the president. Because he's been with Raila in his party before. They've been together. At some point, they had to part ways and such and such. But then he knows this guy pretty well. Do you then think perhaps that now that he knows him, then he thinks that he's got the best strategy that would perhaps handle Raila and render him into political oblivion?
No man can know another man very well, as we put it. We can only know each other fairly well, but not very well. Something else. I've been close to these people. I may not have interacted with some of them directly, but I know them. And I know Raila. And I've been close, I've seen close to him and I've seen people around him. I don't think people get to penetrate Raila in terms of breaking the wall. Many people melt in the presence of Raila. So there are very few people who can tell you we have had a one-on-one, man-to-man, eyebrow-to-eyebrow talk, where we have shared an idea. These people, when they are with Raila, they are always like, he has a spell over them. So I don't know how well Ruto and Raila were able to relate. I don't have that experience. But the little I know is that even within Rift Valley, it was Henry Koske and maybe Sally Koske who were closer to Raila than Ruto. Ruto was a later creation, a fact of Raila. I think maybe even to cope. He thought you needed Rift Valley in one piece. Then Mudavadi was there with Western, Balala was there, and then so you needed this. You needed to create somebody to, I don't think he has interacted with Raila in the manner to convince me he would know Raila Odinga.
Going by the actions of the president right now, definitely, one, you've talked of the headliners surrounding him. I wonder whether it's in your opinion that perhaps the president may also be a headliner on his own.
He is a headliner.
He's a headliner?
But it's obvious. During the negotiations after the 2007-2008 troubles we were in, At the Serena talks, William Ruto was the hardliner on Raila's side. Mother Karua was the hardliner on the Kibaki side. So William Ruto is the hardliner. At the KICC, when Mother was the last man standing on PNU side, Ruto was the only man standing on the ODM side. So Ruto is a tough negotiator, tough bargainer, he's a tough man, and he's a hardliner.
And he was there, right?
And that's why he's president.
You brought about this issue of 207 and him being an hardliner. Definitely therein, perhaps meaning that he told Raila, he would perhaps tell Raila then not to blink fast. And the other side, of course, Karua stood firm on the other side, not to blink either. So we found ourselves at that kind of situation back then where these people are here. It's some sort of a crossroad, and we wonder what we're supposed to do. All those sides, nobody's blinking up. Do you think that perhaps Raila's decision in 2007 to blink fast and accept, agree on the power sharing deal with the then President Mwai Kibaki was perhaps the first reason why these people fell apart?
Yeah, I don't think Ruto liked it. From body language, and I don't think he liked it. Many people didn't like it.
So
many people didn't like it.
That could actually inform the kind of relationship that they have till now.
Yeah, and the esteem with which Ruto may hold Raila. I also didn't perhaps see that was the best way to go. But in the interest of the country, I think Raila then, with hindsight, he was right and all of us were wrong. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right now, there are a number of Kenyans going by the recent utterances of the president and what is taking place in the country and how he's managing his own affairs with everything here. And they're saying that Moi is back. There's a number of Kenyans who are seeing him as a reincarnation of the former, definitely the second president of this country, who a section of individuals in the country regard as a dictator. Talking of the dark days back then. Are you still one of those people, or are you one of those people who perhaps believe that perhaps Moi is back in President William Ruto?
No, I don't think that. Those excesses, we are nowhere near them. Secondly, it is not possible that you can do some of the things Moi did. No. I think people are overreacting.
So circumstances don't allow him right now?
You cannot do it. I think, to be fair to Ruto, he finds himself in a situation which, if most of us found ourselves in, we would be overwhelmed.
Okay.
I've always given this example. Moi said, kulala hii state house kama wajaluo na rukaruka hiyo kwa town, it's not easy. It's in that context you must understand the Uhuru handshake, the Kibaki, all these peoples, and finding who Raila is and working with him through the table other than the streets. They are not fools. You can work with Raila on the table in a room. But if you allow him to go to the streets, you'll be very harassed. Because I am very sure, I'm certain, not because they said it, but I'm just certain even inside their minds. They never believed Raila will pull the sort of crowd he's pulling. They never believed. So they were taken aback.
Okay.
A guy appears from nowhere. They say there are Luos in Kibra. He goes deep into Kikuyu area, in Eastlands. Deeply Kikuyu areas or Kamba areas. He goes to Maradaima. He goes to Pipeline. And from nowhere, there's a sea of humanity. You can't call those ones Luos. So, dealing with the Raila magic kind of be overwhelming. So I think they are reacting to a situation that is larger than size.
Okay.
Yes.
Prof, for us to get into some sort of conclusion right now as a country, the voice of reason has to prevail. And the Kenyans are asking now, whose voice will it be first? Now, these individuals who are actually antagonizing each other right now, somebody needs to blink fast. Definitely. Do you then perhaps think that the president, William Ruto, now that he's got the highest responsibility right now, that is the leader of the nation, will blink fast and perhaps show that voice of reason to the country?
In the circumstances of the year 2008, following 2007 election. I think with hindsight, it was inevitable that Raila blinks first. Given the sort of people that were surrounding Kibaki and what they were determined to do to detain power, having blatantly stolen Raila's election, Raila chose to be the bigger brother and to blink first. In 2017, as we were about to ban our country, I think Uhuru saw the sense in talking to Raila. Many people in his corner didn't like it, least of all his deputy William Ruto. And even Raila, in agreeing to talk to Ruto, to Uhuru, in 2017, 2018 rather, he knew he was more or less sacrificing his presidential chances for 2022. And at the same time, he was going to annoy people and even lose them. So these two guys, you could say, each decided to blink. In the year 2023, we find ourselves at a time when we have to put an end to these hostilities. Bottom line.
Okay.
Otherwise, we lose our country.
Okay.
So I wanted to say, you ask me who blinks first. In the circumstances today, the onus is on the president to be the bigger brother.
Okay.
In these circumstances. Because even if Raila said, I want to be the bigger brother, and extends his hand, the Ruto can ignore it. And not the other way around.
Okay.
So it is right now, I think, the responsibility is more on the president to think about country and to calm down and to talk to Raila Odinga.
This is one president who's serving his first term and actually building his regional as well as international image. He's been out there representing Kenyans, and he's always actually been very vocal when articulating issues that are actually pertinent to the African continent, being there and being portrayed as one of the perhaps right minds of leaders who are coming up in this region. Hearing you had his sentiments about the IMF and so on, that actually put him in some sort of a global stage there in having him there in discussion. But then a number of people are also saying that perhaps he would follow in the close footsteps of one of his friends, our neighboring presidents here, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni of Uganda. Do you perhaps believe that the president may go that way, that the same way Museveni deals with opposition politics in his area, the same way Museveni positions himself on international issues, is the same way that perhaps William Ruto may be going the same direction?
I don't want to compare Ruto to Museveni or Museveni to Ruto. That's for Kenyans to judge. I don't think Museveni has been a very, very good president. And I don't think we want to go in that direction of Uganda. But let me comment on the international stage. You can go and pontificate and talk and be eloquent and speak English on the international arena. But the truth is, nobody respects an African. When you are talking, they are just laughing. I could even see the body language of Macron when our president was talking. Nobody respects an African. Neither do we do anything for us to be respected. When images of us slaughtering each other fill international media, nobody can respect you. When you have people dying from very treatable diseases, who can respect? People are dying from diarrhea, who can respect you? When you have Africans dying from hunger, when you have populations in African cities living like in Kibra and Madare and Korogosho and Mukuru and Nguaro and all these, when you have 80% plus of populations of cities like Nairobi living in places without access to water, without access even to toilet, the most basics of human facilities needed, Where can you go and talk and you are respected? Who can respect you? So, at the global scene, let's shut up. Nobody can respect us, and nobody respects an African. That's why when they go somewhere wanaweka kwa bus, when other presidents are driven in limousines and wanaweka kwa bus, waangalie kwa screen, they are not even next there. At the continental level, it's just another shame. We can't even put up our headquarters of AU until Chinese do it for us. Most African countries are behind the payments due to AU, East African Community. Not to mention there is very little money, just a handful of dollars. African countries can't even finance AU. Those are not people you can. Those are useless people.
Okay.
So there's no international stage because nobody respects an African, and for good measure. There is no African stage, continental stage, because there's nothing. We are a bundle of just people who can't even do the most basics. We are always begging even for the simplest things we can do ourselves. Yeah.
Okay.
Interventions which WHO engages in are things we can do using our own national resources. We still 80 billion and beg for 5 billion.
We're a country, and definitely we are in this region here. Politics and governance, all these things go one in one and together. Therefore, let me just ask you, you've always talked of power being sweet, and but also on the contrary, you've said it blinds people.
Yes.
Do you then think that perhaps our president is forgetting that power is transient and is blinded to the fact that to the extent that he would actually decide to borrow a leaf from the president whom you don't want us to discuss about here, of course, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, therein? What is it that perhaps...
Power blinds, that's a common thing, everybody knows. And I've given you an example of a king who employed somebody, whatever he was in public, Anakapa, kept whispering to him, "You are not a god. You are not a god." He was paid by the king to remind him, he was always reminding the king that the king is not a god. Because the danger, because of the court poets around you, court poets are now what we call sycophants here. They give you a make-believe world. You get out of the normal world. You are not in this physical world. They give you another world. You never see the world. Even at a physical level, the roads are cleared and everything. Everybody jumping like a magician. So that, they give you, so you can't see what is happening. But allow me to say this, and I've said it repeatedly. Power is to be enjoyed. You can't just say, "I want power." You just can't say you want to be president. You must enjoy the presidency.
Okay.
And you cannot enjoy power without peace. That's why the number one preoccupation of a president is to remain president, to enjoy the presidency. In order for that to happen, there must be peace and tranquility in the country. So the people around the president, their number one priority is for the president to remain in power so that they enjoy what they are enjoying because the president is in power.
Okay.
But for the president to be in power, the president himself knows he will not be in power unless there is peace. And oftentimes there could be conflict between these two. Those who want you to remain in power at all costs, because once your power collapses, the benefits they get also collapse. But unlike you, what they are saying may be compromising the peace you need to remain the president and to enjoy the president. To enjoy the president means there must be peace in the country. That peace could be at variance with the thinking of the people around you. They don't care about the peace. They think you will be there at all costs. But you want to enjoy. Why do you want to spend all your time instead of enjoying power fighting? You get it? Especially domestic wars. Countries fight overseas wars sometimes to show toughness and to boost their image locally. Sometimes nationally. But internal wars internal frictions in a country limit the enjoyment of the presidency if you are the president. But it serves the interest of those around you.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't budge, because if you budge, the moment Uhuru went into a handshake with Raila, some things had to give way.
Museveni is our neighbor here. He's been definitely one of the longest serving presidents in Africa right now, definitely after the fall of Robert Mugabe. He's still therein. He's faced certain, more or less the same circumstances that we are facing as a country right now. But he's able to successfully quell the protests therein. Why is it that it's so difficult for you to advise the president to borrow a leaf from Museveni?
You know, Uganda and Kenya are different countries. We don't share the same history. Uganda never went through the colonial experiences we went through. So they didn't have the struggles for independence like we had. They never had Mau Mau or anything. It was not a colony. I mean, it wasn't a colony in the sense in which there were no settlers there the way they were here. There was no attempt at a complete takeover of Uganda. That's why when the time came for independence, it's just Chukweni. You get it? But more relevant to this discussion is the fact that the Ugandans have not gone to the trenches to fight excesses of government. Because when people are fighting with disillusionment in the first decade following independence of most African countries, which is in the 1960s going to early 1970s, Uganda quickly slid into dictatorship. They slid into a military state. You couldn't begin agitating against Amin. You'll go to the crocodiles. And after that, they have never had a civilian authority which they have fought in a civil way through the struggles Kenyans. So Kenyans have been in the trenches and they are seasoned. You cannot treat them the way you treat Ugandans. And but what is there to borrow from Amin, from Museveni? He himself also lives in fear. Yeah, you go to Kampala and see when he's going to Entebbe, when he's going to his home.
He says he's been able to deal with all those kind of protests and everything.
How many, even he himself is armed when he's riding home. Everybody around him has a big gun.
Okay.
The militaries and this, so he's not even free to enjoy the presidency. Initially, people loved him because he brought order. But as usual, when you overstay in power, you begin to engage into excesses. Your welcome becomes wanting. Museveni was a very good person. He brought order Uganda. But I think after 10 years, just like Moi, after 10 years, impunity begins to set in.
Those people who fear that, going by the recent actions and everything that has taken place within the country, then perhaps we may be headed towards that direction.
No.
Well,
let's be fair to Ruto. I don't think Ruto is going in that direction. No. Ruto is just reacting to a situation that is an overwhelming situation. You get it?
Yes.
The situation is overwhelming. And the reaction, he may overreact. But first of all, I don't think he can try to go the Museveni way.
Let's conclude by
But
saying,
secondly, I also don't think anybody can go far if you are tempted to go in that route. Yes.
Let's conclude by saying that, as you've said, power should be enjoyed, as you've told me here.
Correct.
So what is it that the president should do?
To enjoy power, you create peace.
Okay.
So if Ruto creates peace, for the next 4 years, you'll enjoy power. Whether he finishes 2027 or continues, at least he will have enjoyed his 4 years. No, there are just 4 years now remaining. Enjoy the 4 years of power. How do you do that? You create peace. How do you create peace? For now, there are two things. One, sit down with Raila Odinga to end the current animosity, to bring peace to the country, to settle down. And number two, maybe following out of the discussions with Raila Odinga, create order by attending to those things that are agitating the people of this country, like bringing down the cost of living.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this man, William Samoei Arap Ruto, our eyes on the ground, and we are following keenly his footsteps and his political adventures. We are here to see what the future holds for this great son of the soil. Let's wait and see whether he'll follow into the footsteps of the former president, Daniel Arap Moi, or he'll be his own man, chatter his own ways, and bring this country to the right direction. Till we have this conversation again, have yourself a lovely day. My name is Evans Okinyi. Thank you so much for being with us.